Welcome back to the Vid-Ography podcast. Surprise! Back again already. I know. I bet you thought you'd heard the last of me. No, hello, and this is Matt, and I am glad to be back once again here on Vid-Ography. And I am feeling pumped, I'm feeling confident, and I am literally going to be taking it in, breathe in, and breathe out. So, Eve of the Daleks. Yes. It's been far, far too long since I last did a review. Like a good old fashioned proper review. So, before I start, and as I've said on this channel, for anyone who thinks that my views are paid for, they are absolutely not. Because in life, why would you honestly want your views paid for? It would be very, very nice, but I'm not the type. Leave the donation. I'm just teasing you. Or am I? Teasing you again. Just like the seer said. Ah, good old seer, but we're not talking about him yet. So I'm doing a really out forward, complex timeline, I know. So I've got to say, Eve the Daleks. And now, walking into this special was essentially, it's probably going to be the last New Year's Day special for Doctor Who. If Russell decides to continue it and do this as a filler while waiting for the Christmas specials, well, I say filler, I mean like in the gap for waiting between series, go for it. I mean, Doctor Who needs more than one special because sometimes the gap wait takes quite some time and it makes it a bit more noticeable between series. So here we are. I'm just trying to think now. So I've only just seen this a couple of days ago when it went out on New Year's Day, and absolutely, I was in it from the start. I love a plot that is a time loop. So it was a difference with the time loop. The time loop kept getting smaller and smaller as it went on, and around they went. Purred a bit there. Excuse me, sorry. I've been watching Missy quite a lot, so all I keep hearing is the purrs. Or if you want to associate with her the kid, that is entirely up to you, because I do love her take on Catwoman. But anyway, this is about the Daleks. So, yes, I loved it, because it did its job. It was a rom-com. I loved Sarah and Nick. For the love of everything that's holy, there has been so many characters during Flux, and even the Dalek special, that I want to come back in the Russell era, and Sarah and Nick, they are just two perfect couples. He literally was fallen head over heels for her. She didn't feel the same. By the end, ta-da! No, I'm so sorry for anyone that has just heard that. It was like amazing chemistry, well contained, 3 Dalek operators. Now, what I will say about the story before I continue, I've absolutely met 3 of them. I've met. No, sorry, not 3. I do apologise. Sorry, Nicholas. We've actually never met. I've just actually come to the realisation while doing the Eve of the Daleks review. I have never met the legendary Nicholas Pegg. I've met Barnaby Edward and John Davy. I've even met the God of War Daleks, Nicholas Briggs. Oh wow, that is definitely my 2022 resolution to meet Nicholas. The other one, because we've got Briggsy always on hand, and he's just incredible for the writing he does and the acting and the performances he does when he does the Daleks. And he always finds new ways of making the Daleks, even if they've got the same voice or a similar or different tone. He knows the difference, like on a shot. Like the Daleks in here, they were very much a threat in the story. They were very, very much Like, they were trying to stay ahead of the game. Like, they were trying to abuse the time loop, even though they didn't cause it, because they're out for revenge for something the Doctor even says it's not her fault. She just hijacked what happened in the flux because of the Sontarans. And I love the fact that this crew, because to me the family is purely exclusive for when it was the original Chody crew of course, when Mandip, Tosin, and Bradley was there. But to me, this crew, this team, like Dan's been only with them with now 7 episodes, and John Bishop is just one of the most standout stars. He doesn't care he's been thrown into danger. He doesn't care that he's lost the love of his life. He just cares for his mates because he knows he probably won't get to die. And he's just seen it all in this short time. He's basically travelled the earth for 4 years with Yaz. He's basically encountered the Weeping Angels, the Tyrants, and he took on in one of the most comedic things. Every time Dan takes on something iconic, and it just so works. Like when he was making like jokes when he just realised about Mary Seacole, when he literally forgot he'd met Mary Seacole, or when he was like doing the Panthroid Sontaran jokes, oh, I'm gonna walk right over you. To now the Daleks, he's like, oi, excuse me, mate, do you work here? And it's just absolutely funny. And this episode has really sparked some issues with some people who support Phasman and some who don't. And as I said in my introduction, I absolutely am for a ship, and I'm also not for a ship. Because, I mean, sometimes, if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. For me, for Doctor Who, if Yaz is developing the feelings, sure, go for it. If the Doctor doesn't show any back, well, go for it also. I don't want to be the person that says just, who wants to just say with all of this that I'm not going to be the one that takes it away from you. It's entirely up to your own interpretation. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when when, when I see people say this was forced. Like, no. I'm so sorry. Arachnids in the UK essentially set this up. If you think it's always been the last minute, shame on you. But no, in terms of character performances, I love this crew. This was like amazing. Sarah and Nick are officially companion materials. And I loved her mother. Is none of them than Mrs. Doyle. Now, if Americans or anyone else who's listened to this doesn't know who Mrs. Doyle is, she's from a little comedy series called Father Ted, and she'd always do Tea Father, even when she wasn't required, and it was exactly like that comedic nature when she was on the phone. But I completely get now why Jodie was gutted that she didn't have any scenes with her, purely because she was filmed on the phone because she was Sarah's mum. So she'd mainly speak to her. And I have also seen a call for the Russell T Davies Daleks to end on the back of this. Absolutely not. I think because he's the next showrunner, I honestly believe he's going to keep that look. I mean, don't fix what isn't broken. Sure, the classic Who Daleks had upgrades from time to time. Same as when Moffat, when he brought in the Paradigm Daleks, they didn't last long because people were genuinely upset, and Moffat knew this. And how I know Moffat knew that? Well, it's clearly obvious because when you look at the backlash those Daleks got, they barely started featuring in Dalek stories. They were getting more like cameos and less and less. And when Asylum happened, they brought every single Dalek back. They were there alongside the Russell T Davies Daleks, and after that, the Daleks that Russell had essentially had on the show, they came back in full force. Would I like to see them back? Absolutely. No Dalek should be shamed for being different because they're a hateful race. I mean, I would have liked to have seen them in more stories for sure. But back to this review. It was well contained. I loved the visuals. It was beautiful when the TARDIS was resetting itself. The opening shot was like something out of a movie for the budget. Oh, excuse me. And I just think, personally, that makes it like Doctor Who is so in a healthy position for the special effects, to the casting, to the writing. If it's not for you, that is absolutely fair enough. But please be respectful and don't knock others for enjoying it. I mean, I've seen many people online really happy that and their interpretation and then their views plasmid is 100% official. Me personally, I just want to see the story ride out. And I've loved the Daleks because Chibnall, when he writes Returning Monsters, he is very consistent. Like, okay, I know sometimes when he did his own original monsters, it's not as worked out, but I do give hats off to him. Yes, I did say that, didn't I? I gave hats off to. Yes, that was completely right. I'm so sorry. The reason why I struggle sometimes is because I'm absolutely completely off script with this. I am not thinking from like a manuscript, a transcript, any of that. Because when I am trying to think of words to say, I want to make it as genuine as possible. To me, I dare say it that Chibnall has written the Daleks the best in the new series of Doctor Who, purely because every time he's brought them back, they have done exactly what they're here for. They are a menace, they are a threat, they essentially are here to exterminate, which is exactly what they're here for. And to me, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. And I just want to say, if I was to get this a rating, most certainly, on the whole, I look at Resolution, and that was a clear 9 out of 10. Last year's Revolution was definitely a 10 out of 10, and this is definitely a 9 out of 10. I view last year's as a 10 purely because of the Dalek faction war, and Resolution's a 9 because I love the way the Daleks were literally given something new with the Recon Scout Dalek menace. I give this special a 9 because it's not got anything lore heavy. I mean, the Daleks, okay, they can be a little bit overused, but I loved how creatively, is that even a word? Creatively, that's the word. Creatively, the Daleks are alien nemesis from a place of pure hate. And to see them doing exactly the job that Chibnall has wrote for them, my hat's off to Nick Briggs and all the Dalek operators that have been with the new series since Russell took over with Eccleston. My hat's off to everybody that literally walks into there. And I mean, I'm so ecstatic that, as I say, John Davy, Barnaby, Nicholas Pegg, they are still the main Dalek operators for Doctor Who. I mean, look, they are the main trinity because they came in with well, John came in later, same as Mickey Lewis, who does the Daleks. But I view them as the main trinity when it comes to the Daleks because I'm definitely sure that John was part of the Moffat era doing the Daleks, off of memory. I'm so sorry, John, if you do listen to this somehow, somewhere. Yeah, I think it's very cool that you all are still associated with like this amazing franchise. And to me, Nick is definitely my Dalek because he is the essence of a cool guy, so down to earth, and he's happy to be here when the Doctor needs him, like to be the foil to the plans, because Nick is the definitive voice of the monsters for the new series. I have also seen those campaigns that wish there was another voice on top of. I wouldn't change it for the world. How do I rate the performances? Do you know what? When Jodie gave the Doctor speech, I was blown away because Jodie is amazing. She is the definitive, Doctor for me. Not the definitive New Who, but she is the definitive Doctor to so many because Jodie honestly oozes positivity. She's been through a lot for the worst. And if anyone comes at me over certain scenes that will written. First and foremost, in the social awkwardness about Graham, I was social awkward to stuff like that, so I connected in that moment. So if you are finding that that scene is offensive, then I'm so very sorry to you about that. I would struggle even to give a hug with that kind of information because it's a lot to process. And if you're going to say to me, oh, but the Doctor's an alien, been around it a lot, but doesn't mean it gets easier. I mean, how would you think if one of your friends is put in that position? Sorry, one of your friends has been put in that position, and then you are told about it, and you don't know what to say. That was a natural reaction, so bravo to Chips for that. And for the Daleks themselves, oh, definitely we're not seeing the last of them. Do I think they're going to be in the Century? Well, after the Flux finale, and when they had the cameo in Flux, I am not ruling anything out. I think Chibble's going to go the full throttle. And personally, it excites me that he leaves you guessing. And and I have to say, if there is a fob watch lying around somewhere, please donate it back somewhere because it's still in the TARDIS. And if you want to open it to the people that are still upset from that finale, well, be upset. There's 2 more stories to go. Please reserve judgment until the end. If you think it's going to be abandoned in the Russell era, then clearly you've not been following his Instagram posts where he is religiously posting so much that he's been watching the Flux for homework purposes. All I'm going to just say is I'm excited. Doctor Who, when Flux hit, pumped my love for the era again. And I'll make it very, very clear. I have never been a Jodie stan. I am a Doctor stan. I am the fan of the Doctor for all of his, her, they, them faults. Anything the Doctor does, anything the Doctor will be, will always support because you can't define it. It's an alien in a TV show where the laws of gender have been redefined. And if anyone keeps saying, oh, this was planned like ever since Chibnall came in, no. It was planned ever since Moffat was in. When Neil Gaiman had the Doctor's wife with the Corsair and Missy, it's always been threaded. So please, please, please go rewatch those. If you think Jodie was always been like casted to wind you up, she's never was that. She's an actress doing her job, which is written for her. If you have any critiques, please direct to the writers themselves because they're just doing their jobs, like same with anybody that's in any line of work. Because she does the lines. Nick Briggs does his lines as the Daleks, and it's always a joy and a pleasure when he likely gets asked. And I am hoping, if you've heard the unit box set, I'm just hoping that he does the voice of the Sea Devils again, because I'm quite excited that we've got them coming back. And as I've said on my introduction, I'm looking forward to the Sea Devils' return, because he is the gentleman responsible for bringing the Silurians back in an amazing 2-parter. So I'm extremely ecstatic to see how he handles their relations with the family. And on that note, I've got to say, if you're going to love where it's going, then please stand by. I'm delighted to be back with this podcast. I am super, super happy to be taking it into another phase. And the reason I've done this late night solo review is because I'm getting back into the swing of things. Eva the Daleks is beautiful to me. Chef's kiss, as they call it online. And if you think that was a sound effect, no, that was an actual me effect, because that's how much I love it. I personally, I can see the faults on both sides of like the arguments about the writing quality, but just relax. It's like what I said in the reintroduction about Boba, it's been critiqued as one of the worst shows, and it's only 2 episodes in. Just sit back, enjoy the ride, and let the magic begin. And plus, even if you don't like Jodie, 2 episodes left, people. 2 episodes, come on. I mean, I'm looking forward, as I said, to do the rewatches, and even the Daleks is definitely top notch. I mean, Sagan, I'm really hoping Sagan stays. I've loved his transition of the music, because I won't lie, when I first heard Series 11, I couldn't hear it well on the telly, but now I can hear his music perfectly, because that's what I'm looking for. And I like a composer that transitions with the showrunner. I'm hoping he at least does the 60th and Series 14, because I'm kind of feeling Murray's not coming back, because no one's really talked about him in the return side of things. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, is where it goes next. Even with the Daleks, though, Dan is just hysterical in it. Phasman, will it? Won't it happen? Just stay tuned. That's all I say. Nick and Sarah getting a happy ending. That's all I really enjoyed from that as well. Is 2 strangers. Right, well, 2 strangers to us, to the audience, but he clearly has been going because he fancied her or was attracted for long, and finally got with her. And the mum was so appreciative and supportive, like she was worried at the end. That was lovely. Honestly, I think, though, sometimes when Chibnall writes, I think you got to understand where he's coming from. And he's clearly made Doctor Who so older fans, like from the classic era, or newer fans can just connect in different ways. And that's what I've admired about him. And am I gutted Jodie's going? Absolutely. But onwards and upwards, as they say. And, well, that's it, as I say, onwards and upwards. So tune in for another review. Even the Daleks, I only did like a short review, because it's a short and sweet Dalek story. No major returns, apart from, of course, the obvious. But it was great, as I say, for the operators to be back. I think the characters' chemistry is like Yaz and Dan defending each other. They definitely are best friends, and that's what I've liked, is their chemistry since the flocks. But if you know any spout spoilers coming up, I won't say a word, but from what I know about the Synentry that's been promoted online, it's going to be such a fun ride. Anyway, till next time, bye-bye. I am so sorry for not mentioning Carl. He is being currently exterminated by Dalek High Command.